unbelievable people that have done some things, and you'll hear more about them shortly. As you know, this is a non-solicitation room. The smartest man here, PhD from Stanford. What does that mean?
Promote what you do and solicit and say you're here. I want you to. You can't pressure people to give you business. You don't want to really. You can say what you do, but you can't ask people and pressure them to give you business.
This is a double PhD at Stanford, 100% correct. This is about connecting, building relationships. This is about educating, inspiring. There's some really amazing people in the room beyond the panel as well. Everybody in here is involved for the most part in philanthropy and change making. And so it's a really cool room. We love making space for a room like this. We do this quarterly, bringing great people talking about some stuff that's going on in philanthropy, why people are doing what they're doing. So we really want to encourage open conversation, no soliciting, no, hey, you know, I need money. That's not what this room is about. This is really about learning, growing, sharing, and developing great relationships. So again, thank you to the panel for coming. We appreciate you guys. We're going to go quickly around the room. And as crazy as this sounds, we're going to do this fast and furious. Some people have been here before. This is possible. You're going to say first name, last name, what you do, quickly what you're involved with on the charity side. If you're a board member, I'm a board member of Real Institute of America, whatever it is, right? So everybody knows kind of where your sort of involvement is, your give back, if you will. No speeches, please. We do have one of those gongs like at the Oscars. We'll start with world famous Nicole Carlson.
Hi, I'm Nicole Carlson, and I work at Charity Buzz, and I help nonprofits raise money.
Beautiful. Sarah.
Hi, Sarah Zapp. I run Beyond Board, and people get different board positions in for companies. I support various great positions. I'm Allie Lee. I am a communicator at the intersection of social impact and entertainment, and I'm on the board of Community Corporation of San Antonio.
Hi, I'm Jasmine Abdul-Sayed. I own apartment buildings and I teach networking, and I'm also a mentor for USC Law School as well as Rivet, which is a nonprofit.
I'm Lauren Ikayu, and I work with early and growth stage companies building their structure.
Bob at Cowboy with KTEC Studios. I help produce the podcast.
I'm Cynthia Marks, and I have a podcast called Is Now Love. Then go there and find out about it.
Hi, I'm Kyle Doobie, co-founder of More Trees Together, international reforestation nonprofit that sends kids to school through reforestation projects.
Hi, I'm Sherry Laura Solomia. I host Healthy Balance Type Lifestyle Hackathons, started with the Aloe administration White House. Used to work with Winiker study and excited to be here.
Mike Lee. Okay. Mike Lee, CEO of the Autism Community in Action, family navigation services for any family that's struggling through how to find your resources and how do you find the care for the autism training. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Nancy Hernandez. I'm director at URC. We serve care workers all over California, providing education paths for them and their families.
Hi, I'm Carol Kim, founder and principal of Shasta Advisory. I work at the intersection of healthcare, government, and social impact, working with a lot of startup founders and CEOs and helping them build their organization and their teams.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maddie Merrill. I'm a director at Morgan Stanley Culture, Sports, and Entertainment Wealth Management, and I help my clients with their charitable planning.
Hi, I'm Tina Ermakison, and I co-founded Aid Tanzania 20 years ago. We use women's artisans, social enterprise to help fund girls' education. And I appreciate being here.
Hi, Afam Wanyema. I am co-founder and leader of Jinko Foundation. We do healthcare and education work in Nigeria, medical missions, build clinics out of shipping containers, and we take girls affected by Boko Haram terrorism and back to school, STEM education, and mental and emotional.
Hi, I'm Emily Slade, and I'm the head of philanthropy at Inspired. I'm also on the board of iTrek.
everybody. I'm Brittany. I'm a music publisher, Turn Tech founder, and now I have a software called Gateway to help musicians grow the catalogs. So.
Hi there, my name is Karen Davis and I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner. I volunteer with a nonprofit organization who provide free medical care to children all over.
Scarver, I'm an expert in the mathematics of gambling, and I've done philanthropy in the past, but my main philanthropic venture now is supporting my wife to do philanthropic adventures.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Gazen. I'm the founder of two online auction charitable companies, Auction Cause and Kave, and we just do high-profile eBay charity auctions. This is my wife.
Hi, hey, I'm his wife.
And Dallas.
I'm a mentor, yeah. Good to see you guys.
Hey, Cindy.
Hi, everyone, Cindy McNeil. I'm a consultant in sports and event marketing. Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Anna, and I am a nonprofit support small businesses across the U.S. Access capital and really get to their next stage.
Lee Chernotsky, I run a creative impact agency that flipped a short bus into an ice cream truck that's about to be a mobile studio on the stage. Everyone, my name is Booty with a D, not a T, and I'm considered a super connector. I connect brands, talent, wealthy families, and individuals.
Nice to meet you. Hi, everyone. Eric Espinosa. Focus on public-private partnerships and amplify impact collaboratively. And with Super Connector, I'd like to think of get hype man.
I'm Leah Haynes. I run the Two-Bit Circus Foundation, and we work in education, try to make it more engaging and fun for kids and teachers.
Hi, I'm Shayla Tate. I am former director of philanthropy for family foundations like Oprah Winfrey, the Wilsons, and some other high net worth and high profile individuals. And now I do it as a consultant for smaller family foundations or private projects to strategize and run your private project, philanthropy project.
Hello, everyone. My name is Trinity Jolly. I work at Morganite Writing Company, and we help nonprofits and social enterprises with narrative justice and capacity building.
My name is Triana Rankins. I am the founder of an organization called Marching Beauties. We focus on empowering young girls in the inner city. And I also have another organization that focuses on teaching our kids life skills.
Hey everyone, Laura Punchek. I run the William C. Bannerman Foundation. We support education, environment, and children, and I'm also an attorney.
Hi, everybody. I am Kelly Brown. I'm a philanthropic strategist. I also sit on the board of the Soda Foundation, and my company, Sound Circle Management, helps for-profit companies decide, define, and deliver their philanthropic mission, and nonprofit companies build boards and find programs and partnerships to do their work.
Hi, I'm James Hester. I'm a New York Times bestseller. I sit on the board of the Martha's Vineyard Sober House, where we have a huge fundraiser every year to rebuild a campus to let people transition from a detox center into sober living. And I consult with the Nat King Cole and Natalie Cole Foundation.
Hi, I'm David McFarland. I have a management company, DLM Impact Management, where I manage professional athletes, Olympians, and artists. I also have a DLM Entertainment, where I am a producer, storyteller. At the end of the day, I work at the intersection of professional elite sports. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Storytelling and social impact, big entertainment. And at the end of the day, I also have a lot of interest and do a lot of work in the narrative space around mental health and suicide prevention.
My name is Jeffrey Fridd. I'm a former professional mini golf player turned real estate extraordinaire. I run Compass's Sports and Entertainment Division. And foundation-wise, I help a lot of foundations in their poker, golf tournaments, a fan of both. So City of Hope, Olympic Diamond, partake in those.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jeff Felix. I'm a wealth advisor with Blue Mill Private Bank. Also, the advisory board for the Soraya, which was the Performing Arts Center in Boston. I'm Brandon Klein, partner at Calpans. Business management, so a lot of my clients are getting into a lot of stuff.
Jonathan Picciarello, partnerships at All True, forming crowdfunding platform that supports nonprofits.
Joanna.
I'm Shauna Aloe. I'm a fan world of Aloe. Shauna. I'm a philanthropy advisor, work fundraising both in-house and out of house. And I'm an advisory board member for Sounds of Saving, which is a mental health organization.
Hi, Wednesday, Tosca is my name. Yeah, and I own a project management agency for athletes. I'm a dating advisor. Glad to be here.
My name is Shannon Ryder. I'm a philanthropy and impact strategist for a foundation that provides scholarships for a career development program, where we help college students who have who are recently graduated from college get jobs in sports media.
Kirk Scott with the Edward Charles Foundation.
Hello, I'm Jenna Green. I have a consulting firm Forward that I've had for about 9 years, and I do a lot in the strategic growth and partnership marketing space within this entertainment and social.
Hi, Courtney Langer. I'm a philanthropic advisor. I work with individuals, families, foundations on their philanthropic strategies and meaningful capital deployment.
Cameron, introduce yourself. Cameron, by the way, puts everything together, so.
Yeah, Cameron White, Edward Charles Foundation. Thank you all for coming. Gonna do it out each and every one of you, and especially to our panelists. Thank you all for joining us. And then we have Julianna on Zoom too.
Yeah, we're gonna get started, guys. We're not gonna go through Zoom just because it's tricky with and all that, but want to start at my far left with Aloe. Thank you again for coming. Aloe, you obviously are a great musician, but talk a little bit about why doing good is so important to you from a musician standpoint and sort of perspective.
Sure. Well, first of all, good evening. Happy to be here. Glad to know all of your names now. I feel like every human being, right? It's incumbent upon every human being to do good in their lives, do something good and to be positive, have a positive impact on society, on the community. We have a responsibility to our family and our friends, but where does that bubble end, right? Who decides? How do you decide? When does it blur? When do the lines get blurred? And so, when I graduated from USC, I went to work in corporate America as a business consultant at Ernst & Young, working in the health sector. So we were improving hospitals and sometimes working with insurance companies to collect patients. But I was a music lover and I've always been doing music. And so when the company made the decision to lay me off, couldn't have been a better decision, right? It gave me an opportunity to focus on my passion, which was music. And I thought, okay, well, I'm not a starving artist, so I don't have to sacrifice my art, the integrity of my art, for the sake of making a living. I can always go back to corporate, because headhunters are always looking for consultants, and I can always go back to academy and study or be a career scholar like some of my family members. So it was always the safety net. I thought, okay, so for the purpose of being an artist, what am I going to make my mission? And I decided quite intentionally to make music a positive social transformation. No other reason for me to take up space in the entertainment world and just be redundant and make trauma for everyone else, like depression music or misogyny or violence or all that stuff. It's there already. Like the investors in the music business love that stuff, and they keep pumping money into that stuff. But I thought, if I can do this and I can convince them to put money into me, then I'm going to flip the script and I will be the balance. I'll be the counter on the radio. So if there's a song saying "Live Fast, Die Young," I'm going to be like, I don't want to die young. I want to grow old with family. I'm gonna have a different layer. And it worked out handsomely. Like I got signed to one of the biggest labels in the world, Interscope, alongside Maroon 5 and Lady Gaga and Black Eyed Peas, and I was able to release some songs and have some of the biggest music moguls support me in creating music that can inspire and motivate and hopefully be counterpoint to the negativity on the radio. Sorry, that might have been a long-winded answer, but that's.
Started off right. We'll just go with that. Love it. Shauna, you've had the opportunity to represent some of the big city listeners. Town, what drew you into philanthropy? What also keeps you going?
Yes, I mean, it's interesting. I'm a bioethicist by training, like I studied basically the philosophy of like how you do the most good, which is not always clear, but funny when you said that, of like, who gets to make the decision, who gets to decide, like that was what kind of hit me as well, of like how nothing is value free, like everything that happens, like there is a decision that was made, and I became really interested in kind of how you do the most good, the most upstream. I never thought I would end up working with artists or in entertainment. I thought I would work like at a hospital, working on ethically tricky issues and trying to navigate those and help families and be very much more direct service. And it was more by chance that I ended up in entertainment. I was at a firm called Fundamental. If anyone knows Rachel Evans, who's like the smartest human on the planet. And I worked with her, and she works with people who are in entertainment, but not necessarily kind of out there publicly about their philanthropy. It's like more an interesting intersection. And then I had this opportunity to go work with Scooter Braun, and I had no idea what I was saying yes to in that moment. Really, truly, I thought I was like starting his family foundation, and then it was like I also so artists who want to also give back, and it was just a really insane opportunity at the right time, and we were able to integrate philanthropy onto tours, and it almost for me created a playbook of like, if you have an artist that cares, there is kind of a methodology you can follow that really unlocks capital, unlocks impact, can really build movements. It's not the only solution, of course, but it's I feel like it plays an amazing role. And I think what keeps me in it is that I feel like I know how to do it, and I enjoy doing it. And of course, like to me, I'm not the one that's saying like you should focus on this cause or another. I'm happy to educate around causes, but it's like these are artists have vision, and you have vision. Like, and I don't tell them what, but I'm there to do the how, and I find that like really exciting. So that keeps me in it of just knowing that they have this opportunity to move the needle, especially in a moment where content is king and it's really difficult to kind of break through. I just think it's
Well, what a great answer. Evan, you've been part of building, the South Entertainment talent representation comes now. And then you also started a real nonprofit for pet care. Talking a little bit about what moved you to start the foundation and how sort of the entertainment business has influenced the way you look at doing good.
I think, like many things, it didn't start out of a great moment. It started out of a sad thing. I was away in London with a client of mine, and my dog was with someone, and a really sad thing happened to him. But it shed light on a reality, which is that pet care has gotten extremely expensive. I'm sure many of you guys in this room have animals that you love that are in your lives or were in your lives, and you had to face a question, which is, how much longer am I going to have with this thing that I love, and how much is it going to cost? And oftentimes people can't afford to save these members of their family. So out of this dark moment came a beautiful thing. And we started a foundation where we raise money for people that can't afford veterinary care. And we've saved close to 100 dogs at this point. I'm incredibly proud of it. But a lot of our clients have played a role in helping get the word out. And we do a big golf tournament every year that sells out. We have tons of actors and athletes and musicians that come, and it allows us to sell bigger packages. And Brock Purdy's one of our clients. He always gives us stuff. We always get like really, really cool things that people want. And the money that people pay at the silent auction and the money that people pay for a foursome at a golf tournament or, you know, a poker tournament, whatever it is, that goes straight into the hands of people that live in Altadena, Pasadena, wherever it is. And they're at a vet place, and they're saying, this is gonna help me pay for this. So I'm very, very thankful and proud. And what an incredible room. I mean, like, just listening to you guys go around, talk about what you do, like, everyone here working together, we could enact real change in so many areas.
We're gonna get there. Julianna, welcome. You're with us now. You had an incredible career as a Christian pop star. You decided to use charitable dollars through a fiscal sponsorship to do good. What's at the center of that for you, Julianna? Why are you so passionate about it?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and everyone for being here. Evan, to your point, what an amazing room. So I was indoctrinated into a very fundamentalist religion. I believed largely that, you know, it was my role to teach women that they were subordinate to men, that essentially a woman's proximity was in direct correlation to her proximity to a man, whether that was her father or her husband, and was very, very successful in this role. I was the artist that Trump had come and sing at his 2017 National Prayer Breakfast because I've largely held the stance of being anti-gay and anti-women's rights. And then I met my first gay couple, and I was like, oh, you are not single-handedly destroying American democracy like I have been told my whole entire life. And they introduced me to philosophy. And as I started to liberate myself intellectually and spiritually, it was as if the containment and the foundation of everything that I knew to be true began to fall apart. And so in a very crucible moment when I came out publicly as pro-LGBTQ, pro-women's rights, my then husband, because I lost my jobs, I lost my record deals, I lost my tours, I lost my third publishing deal. My then husband pointed at me and said, "This is what happens when women read." And that for me was, it was like the runway of my life lit up. Like, okay, yeah, this is actually what happens when women educate themselves, is that we are able to notice systems of oppression. We are able to articulate what those systems of oppression are doing. We're able to challenge them. We're able to leave them. We are able to change them. And so I left actually that day. I had lost all of my job and my funding and everything. So I left that day. I went to study at the University of Oxford, did my research in the internal oppressors of weaponized religion against women and girls around the world. And when I graduated in 2023, met Kent, started This Is What Happens When Women Read, and we are on a mission to liberate and to awaken the liberation of women across the globe. So I'm actually the first female funder to ever be partnered with the university, which that was with a 900-year-old institution. I'm telling you, so difficult, but we have partnered with them. They are allowing me to identify emerging feminist leaders around the world that are coming from high controlled religions and high controlled cultures and bring them over to the university to earn their MBA. It is the ride of my life. It is the rest of my life's work. And yeah, super proud, super thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Aloe, coming back to you. One of the areas you're working in is cancer research. And what are you trying to accomplish in the sector? You know, what do you see as sort of going unaddressed? And then within that sort of response, how are you sort of partnering with people to maximize your voice, but also the impact?
Yeah, okay, well, the cancer journey, it started as a philanthropic moment. I was trying to donate money to the University of Houston to advance some research during the pandemic that I found could be the answer to COVID, and subsequently the answer to many coronaviruses. But the pandemic started waning, and the funding mechanisms for solutions were disappearing because the government had decided on mRNA technology, which had its own headwinds prior to the pandemic, but ultimately became a viable solution, not just for COVID, but it's now applied to cancer, which is what the original research was. The scientist that I was working with, that I donated money to for research, was and is an oncology researcher, has multiple patents for cancer. And I thought, well, because I know what you do works, and it works in infectious disease, so COVID, coronaviruses. We pivoted from coronavirus for a hot minute to immune dysregulation, and it works for immune modulation. And that was kind of a bit of a struggle, because it's all tough. Biotech is tough. But then we pivoted again to cancer because that's where most of his patents are. And it's been an interesting ride. And we started a company in order to move forward because, philanthropy in biotech is like really difficult unless you're Bill Gates. So 10 years and over $100 million. And so we started the company and started trying to partner with the government. So NIH to get grants. In Texas, there's a great ecosystem for cancer research. CPRIT is an organization that's taxpayer dollars to fund cancer research. And we haven't really gone out for to do fundraising yet. It's really bootstrapping and non-dilutive from the government. But what I found is I perform mostly at private gigs. And a lot of the private gigs are galas, fundraising galas, foundations, and sometimes they are cancer foundations. And it is mind-boggling how vague and obscure it is to understand how the money moves in these organizations. I'm in the operating seat of a biotech company, and I know how the research works and how the dollars go. And I could put a transparent ledger up on the internet for anyone to see. But at these foundations, just like finding out how the money gets moved around, it's mind-boggling. So one of the things I'm really eager to do is to design a system that offers everybody in the world who's donating to cancer, right? Just offer them some system of transparency. You can see where your dollar went and to what part of the research, so that it's not getting swallowed up into the complex, philanthropic industrial complex, or it's getting swallowed up into the universities where the university's taking 40% of the money. Because that happened when I made my donation. The university takes a large chunk of that money. And they say that you got to pay for the building and keep the lights on, and it's true, they do. But it's really still, it's hard to know. Okay, so itemize that. Show me where. But that's what how I got into the cancer side of things. And we're working on one of the hardest cancers, pancreatic cancer. But it's an unmet need. That's the reason why we're doing it. It's because it's an unmet need. There are other cancers we could probably approach and kill it right away because the modality that we're using is really sophisticated. But my co-founder thought, in order to prove out his platform, we're gonna have to do something really impossible. And so I'm really optimistic. He probably would not say this, but I'm certain that we're going to cure pancreatic cancer.
Shauna, you had an opportunity to see artists that had major campaigns that have had incredible movements and galvanized efforts in variety of people, like Al was talking about. And you've also probably seen ones that haven't built. And in your first response, you mentioned the playbook, I'm not expecting secret info, but what do you think separates campaigns that really go deep? Who's the ones that they don't?
There's like the tactical, which is like sponsored ads. You get access to sponsored ads in order to actually reach the people. But no, I mean, I do think authenticity is key. That is kind of an obvious answer, but couple things like kind of early days worked on look, I worked with Ariana Grande for a long time. She was a scooter client, and now working with her again and looking at what she wants to fund, and have been really like impressed and excited to see that when we went through kind of the strategy, it was like, oh, these are all organizations she's known for years. Like no one was surprised. Like she's been funding these groups for years, and it felt like, and I actually don't know yet if we'll be successful because we haven't actually launched yet. But I do like feel this sense of like when it actually works for the artist and it feels like it's authentic to who they are and the storytelling is easy, it makes a really big difference to how it's received by fan base. Because I think ultimately when we're talking about music and philanthropy, like we're really talking about fan bases, because in order to actually move the needle, and it's got like it needs to light up the fan base. And if it doesn't, we're probably not going to be successful because it's not going to reach the broader. And so to me, that piece feels really critical. Also, sometimes it means like my role or the role of like whoever I'm paid. Like I have an advisory now. I've worked in house so many years, but now I'm clients, and I think like ultimately we need to be invisible. Probably the most successful campaign I've ever worked on with March for Our Lives, and that was one where we got no credit and no one knew I worked on it and no one knew who were behind it, but it was like it was youth led, and it was led by the activists and organizers, and it looked completely like led by them. I mean, I would say that I wish we had seen more success in the gun violence prevention space, that they've had a lot of plans. And we were like largely invisible because it was super important that the youth voices were leading. So yeah. And similarly, when we put Headcount on tour with Ariana Grande in a time where like Headcount, they do voter registration, like they were on grunge tours, they were doing like more jam band style stuff. They were with Dave Matthews. They had never done a tour like a pop star. And so we put everything in her language and her colors and her lyrics to make it just like feel like she's given this to, this is important to her, versus feeling like we're kind of shoving someone else's messaging down your throats. And I think that piece is really important for
Good follow from what you
Yeah.
So how do you sort of gut test the artist that this is gonna be real? But it also sounds like you're gonna find a lot of alignment. So it really feels good for them too. It's not just like, hey, are you doing this?
Right.
Is there any technique to it, or is it just multiple conversations?
Yeah, because I don't always get multiple conversations. And so, and that can be challenging too, because sometimes it's like so real. It's like we can curate the perfect thing, and then like some friend will get to them directly and be like, can you do this thing? And you're like, oh, that's not what I had curated for the perfect messaging testing and whatever. And like I think ultimately I think it hits best when it feels like it comes from them. But if it comes from them because a friend cares about it, and that means they care about it, it's gonna hit the same. So I think sometimes I'm learning how to step back and remember that my formulas or what I think is the best possible way to make an impact, like ultimately if it's in their heart and it makes sense for them, like that's just as important. And I will admit I'm also like, I used to almost be, because I was so focused on systems change and I still care about that so deeply, I was almost like resistant to the Make-A-Wish and to like the meet and greets and things like that actually change a person's life because they'll never forget it. And I think I was resisting to it because I didn't feel like the ROI was there. I'm like, this is really, I don't want to do this. And I've been admitting it to a large group of people that I really respect. However, I felt that way. I was like, gosh, it would be so much better if we could use our platform to change policy or and it's like, you know what, that is actually that person is never gonna forget it, and it's gonna be more impactful. And I am not the judge of ultimately what is gonna be the most impactful. And I'm so grateful if they want to use their platform in any way or their time, like, let's let them go, is my opinion at this point.
Great answer. That's just like a little bit to Aloe, kind of circle back on. Evan, you're a founding member of Steel Train. I want to see a visual picture of something like which was a band, by the way, so you know. And you also represent Music Town, your agent. You sort of have an interesting dual perspective from the artist viewpoint. And what do you see sort of as an industry veteran in terms of guiding an artist? Some of the common pitfalls that you see within that and when they're trying to have impact with their careers, and what are some of the insights and maybe even a successor to?
It's a great question. First, I'm so fortunate that I get to work with great people who are really talented. So that never goes away. I always think about that. I love connecting the dots. Like I heard a couple of people over there say, you know, they're great connectors. It's one of my favorite things. And I think in what we do, that's like the core of it. A lot of the time it's artists saying to us, I want to do something outside of the scope of what people know me for. It might be a musician saying, I'm really passionate about dogs, or I'm really passionate about autism. And I also love learning. So it gives me an opportunity to learn about a new space, figure out who the people are that are going to help us achieve what my client is looking for, and then I connect the dots. And it's really, really nice to get to sit at whatever event we're at and know, okay, we're actually doing something here, and it's because we did it the right way. And I think if you're a patient person and, you know, if you apply strategy to most things, you can connect the dots. That's something I love. Examples of it? Trying to think, because I work with people that climb mountains, but oftentimes it's not philanthropic mountains. It's mountains of, actually, I'm going to bring up a great book that everyone in this room should read. If you have not read it, it's called The Second Mountain by David Brooks. Amazing author, amazing book. And it talks about how we all in our lives have this first mountain. And we think when we're standing at the top of that mountain, we're going to be happy. And oftentimes that first mountain for us is success in an arena of whatever we're choosing. You know, it could be, I want to sell out an arena for some of my clients. It could be, I want to play in a Super Bowl for other clients of ours, whatever the case is. And when they find themselves there and when they've performed well there, they're emptier than they've ever been. And that's because they thought that thing that they were working so hard for was going to make them happy. And it talks about the valley, and then it talks about what most people hope to find, which is their second mountain. And that second mountain is giving, selflessness, and helping, and so much of what you guys do already, and what you do, and what you do, and what Kent does, and Kirk as well, and Cameron. And it's like all of us, it's so fulfilling for me to be able to make someone else happy. And that probably says something about me. Like that's what gets me going, you know, but that makes me more whole than doing something for myself. I'm trying to think of stories with my clients, but I think you guys should read that book if you haven't to get started.
Awesome answer. Thank you. Julianna, you've had an incredible music career. I'd love to sort of understand you the things that you learned as a successful musician, how they've helped you in philanthropy, and sort of part of that, given the incredible challenge of partnering with you know, a famous university like Oxford. How did you pull all these sort of elements together, and what are some of your superpowers of creating such a collaborative environment and a movement that fuels passion, not only for yourself, but for people around you?
I think you're muted, Juliana.
Thank you for the question. You know, when I think about who we're trying to reach, not just women around the world, but if we think about 47 million self-professing American evangelical women, just like myself, that may or may not find some sort of oppression or suppression within the institution, I've been thinking about, okay, what did I need when I was 33 years old? What did I need the first time I picked up Plato's Allegory of the Cave? And my mind was just, the top of my head was blown off, to borrow from Emily Dickinson, you know. And I needed an example. I needed a Statue of Liberty. I needed a woman that was saying, I have done this and you can do this too. And I didn't have that. And so part of the scholarship program for me and going back to school for me was to be able to identify those women and to become that woman myself, a woman that has reclaimed her self-sovereignty, who has self-actualized, right? And so that was the first piece of it. So that was strategic in order to give someone, I didn't want any one woman around the world to ever be able to say, well, I've never seen it done. So one of our scholars, for instance, is from Bihar, India. Her name is Smriti Sinha, and she had never seen a woman not enter into an arranged marriage. She's from a very, very conservative state in India. And for whatever reason, this is what I love about women, like whatever that thing is within a woman that's like, I am going to self-actualize. I am going to become what I can imagine I can become. So everybody just watch me do it, right? Like that was her spirit. That was her energy. She was a brilliant thinker that just needed a hand to bring her to the other side. And so she has now created incredible impact in the state of Bihar. I mean, her family lost their reputation. She lost all of her funding. It's, you know, some of it's negative, but ultimately it is positive. There's a quote by Maria Popova, who I love, who says that nothing changes the history of the world like changing the landscape of permission and possibility for others. And when I think about the work of This Is What Happens When Women Read, and my just obnoxious commitment to everything being named that very long, unwieldy title. This is what happens when women read. It's because the power is in the this. I'm not telling you who you should or should not become. It is your job to reclaim your life. No one is doing this work for you. No one can imagine who you want to become. So this is you, right? Like this is what happens. I am what happens when a woman reads. And so Smriti now is changing the landscape of permission and possibility for the state of Bihar. My book comes out in October 13th. I'm so excited. Also called, obviously, This Is What Happens When Women Read. But all of these engagements, and I'm going back into music, so whether it's through a book or whether it's through a scholarship or whether it's through building out a curriculum or singing a song, right? Like every single act that we have, when we step into a room, whether it's a living room or a boardroom or a schoolroom, you are changing the landscape of permission and possibility for other people. You're either expanding it or you are contracting it. And I love, I just love the opportunity that every single person in this room has to, when you step into a room, as you were saying, Shauna, like, how are you uniquely positioned? How is Ariana Grande uniquely positioned? How is Julianna Glasse uniquely positioned to do this work? And there are so many brilliant minds and thinkers and workers, like look around the room, right? Where we all are uniquely positioned in our own way. So to be the biggest and best and most excellent version of ourselves, I think is ultimately what will change individuals around us. It'll change our communities. It'll change our nation. It will change our world.
Sorry, I'll right after that. You're performing, still, and talk a little bit about a magical moment. It seems like you sing with purpose. I actually didn't know that piece at that level for you. But talk about the moment, what that meant to you when you were actually performing, what you felt like the impact was. We should talk a little bit about impact. That's clear, super important to you. Yeah.
I would say there were multiple moments, and I've had the opportunity to perform on lots of different kinds of stages. And to perform for my heroes. Like one time I was in London on a TV show called Jules Holland, and it's a performance in the round. So there are 5 bands on stage. Me, across from me was the Blacc Keys. To my left was Neil Diamond. To my right was
Big enough, we'll never know.
Alice, I want to say Alice Cooper. And then there was one more band, and it was, as I was performing, Paul McCartney dancing while I'm singing my songs. And I thought I'd reached the pinnacle, I'm done. But really the pinnacle for me was my mentor's 90th birthday, the late great Harry Belafonte. We're in Harlem at the Apollo Theater, and we're celebrating his 90th. And he's asked me to sing a couple of his sort of field songs, the protest songs, the songs from the days of slavery in the United States. And so I'm singing on stage, and he's asked me to sing with this youth choir. The youth choir is backing me, and it was such a powerful moment to really, in the way that I received it was, Harry's 90. He's not going to be doing this most. He's not singing at all anyway. He's not doing it any longer. And look who he's asking to carry this torch. And if any of you know anything about Harry Belafonte, it's like, when it comes to activism, I consider philanthropy a type of activism, right? You're advocating for something that you find really important, and you're using your dollars. You may not be on the front lines marching with a picket sign, but your dollars are doing the work. But he was the guy that was on the front lines marching, arm in arms with Martin Luther King. And when you think about an activist like Martin Luther King, where's the money? There is no money in activism. There's no paycheck. So who's feeding the family? Who's paying for the flights or the security or the hotel? Like, that's Harry Belafonte. He's going to go on TV, he's going to go do the concerts, and he's going to sell the records, and his money is going to fund the civil rights movement. And so I understood from him how I should show up as an artist, as a human being, first of all, but as someone with a megaphone and access to so many arts. That particular moment, singing for his 90th, is like a moment that made me feel really proud of what I'm capable of doing and what I've done.
Shauna. I see it a lot, and I'm gonna ask you the same thing, actually. You go around some unbelievable moments. Whether it was a performing moment or not, what was that? Wow.
It is like very unique. We are, I think, all everyone in this, like, we're all in these situations, I'm sure, from time to time, where I'm looking at Nicole over there, Charity Buzz, I'm like, there have been moments where we've been together, and I'm like, how the heck is this happening? Yeah, I think that there are definitely pinch me moments, especially not having like intentionally necessarily pursued this field. But I would agree that it's like it is those like little kind of personal moments. Was just in Australia with Harry and Megan. They're not artists. When I actually interviewed with them, they were like, you work with the singers and performers. Like, she was like, I can't tap dance. Like, she literally said that. And I was like, I think you have a different superpower. And I honestly, watching them in Australia, meeting the people where, I think there's obviously a lot in the press about them, and it tends to be like really negative. And I understand there's like a full industry around that, and like seeing them one-on-one with people who, like, where that meeting is changing their life. Specifically in Australia, there's this woman that Harry has met with over the years who is a veteran, and she lived until she was 99, and she was like the ultimate Harry fan, and I don't know, they just have this special relationship. They've met over the years, and I like looked into her before the trip because I was like, oh, it would be so special to meet with her again, because they're coming back all these years later, almost 10 years later. And she like recently passed away. Such a shame, like, it would be so sweet and special. And then we were doing this event at the Sydney Opera House, or near the Sydney Opera House, and this woman like standing there with a picture, like screaming, and my friend's like, who's this woman? And they go up to her, and it's like this woman's daughter, and she's holding this picture of her mom, Harry, and it's like this moment of like bliss, of like tears, of just like that kind of coming together And I, I don't know exactly what it means for her or what it meant for her mother, and I can't necessarily understand, but I could see how special it was for all of them. And I think those moments, witnessing moments like that to me are it's very human, and it reminds us like what the power of a platform is. We have parasocial relationships with people for whatever, can be really, it can sometimes be translated into something positive. And you could tell, that was recent. That's not like the album of my life that I get.
Guys, I would love it. There's something to be worked there. And Evan, it doesn't have to be, you've seen a lot of artists now. They have to be philanthropic, just that moment of the impact with performance or something like that. Maybe you have a story with that as well.
I think on the philanthropic side, there's a lot of organizations that mean a lot to me. And when I get the opportunity to pair a client of mine or a client of our companies with one of those organizations, it's really fulfilling. We had that a bunch with, I used to manage Jared Leto for a long time, and we did something with Music Cares, which was incredible. They do a big event every year around Grammys, raises a ton of money. He did a Fleetwood Mac song with the guitar player of Fleetwood Mac, really, really special. I do a lot of work with City of Hope. It's such a special hospital. If you guys haven't been there, with just angels. And we've had so many clients through the years play their event every year. Again, raises dollars that go straight to the hospital. Yeah, that's my favorite part of what I do, honestly.
That is the best.
And my least favorite part is like getting calls at 2 in the morning, like, where the door bus break down, or like, make this when you made that, or whatever. But like, it's so rewarding when you know what you're doing is going to something good.
Julianna, what about you? Most impactful moment.
Oh man. Well, I already told you about Smitty. So one of the really exciting moments that I had was on my birthday in October. This woman from Botswana emailed the team and she said, in honor of your 41st birthday, I'm hosting 41 women for a This Is What Happens When Women Read dinner. I was like, what is even happening? Like, women in Botswana are getting together to celebrate their own self-actualization and their own commitment to their agency when feminism, the challenges of feminism and the challenges that females address around the globe, they look so different. And what I have noticed is that it's so easy to create hierarchical structures between our suffering. It's so easy to say like, well, at least I don't have that, and so therefore I'm going to stick with this. And so that was such an incredible moment to me because it spoke to the ability to find oneself inside of a mission, inside of a movement, even when our suffering looks different, even when the challenges look different. So I would say Botswana, I was just like totally mind blown that happened. And we're now in 67 different countries around the world, have reached 4 million women through different initiatives. And we've been around since March 10th of last year. So, I mean, it's incredible to see women galvanize the way that they have.
I want to make a quick point, and I'm going to have a last question for each panelist, and we'll open it up a couple to wrap it up. But I think the big point that Shauna brought up, that I want to anchor for everybody in this room is philanthropy in all these moments is the unique moment of a recognition that you're a healer. Okay, that is why that moment is so powerful in your moment. And so we're all here, feeling like we're giving space for something very special, which is what we do quarterly here. And some of you guys have been here long enough, so you kind of know the vibe. But it is special to be able to give back on the second mountain where you really begin to feel like you're a human being. And so that's what we're all talking about, kind of the same thing, but that's the power of it. Whether you reach solving pancreatic cancer, you get it all, to the 10th yard line, it's still this amazing feeling that you're doing something that is uniquely noble, which is giving back to somebody else, right? So, final question for everybody. What does one thing that you would want every person in here to walk out and do different. Whether it's a donor, band, professional, when it comes to music and film. So that's you.
Yeah, okay. Love unconditionally. I don't think it needs any explanation, but I'll try it on. It's super difficult, and been having conversations with my wife about how to do this because we look at the news and we see characters that we do not really want to regularly love at all. But ultimately, the hate that you hold is yours, not theirs. And working in cancer, my co-founder, says that a lot of it is stress. Like I'm using these chemicals to unlock disease that's born of stress. And this stress comes from the way that you think. And so if you can use every ounce of energy you have to love unconditionally, then you can reduce that stress. You can reduce the tension in the air, and it all matters. All matters. Everything is connected. Thank you.
Agree with that. I guess I would say, like, so I think a lot of us in the room represent, like, we work with wealth holders and talent, but also organizations. And I think maybe the boldness of, like, instead of why would it be me, it's like, why not me? And really putting asks out there and being direct. Like, I receive a lot of asks. I also put out a lot of asks. And I think at the end of the day, like, especially as I will just say as a woman, like, sometimes there's, we aren't as transactional and we don't ask for favors. And I feel like even though we're all doing good, this is also, it's about relationships and it's about asking. And I think, we've achieved things together, get through like different opportunities. And I would just say, like, I'll always thinking about who the end client is and definitely curating and making those things kind of relevant to them, but also like not being afraid to source an opportunity and ask directly and dare I say be transactional sometimes, because like it's a very difficult time to be in the nonprofit sector. Like, it is hard right now to raise money. Like, we're grateful we have Charity Buzz in the room, we all true. I do also work with eBay. Like, we have amazing platforms, but it is very hard to raise. And at the end of the day, like, we can't do what we want to do without funding. And so I think like we need to be bold and work together and not be afraid to kind of go out there with asks and requests.
It's funny that you asked this question, because there's a theme that we've been talking about, which is grabbing that extra minute. The phrase, like, there's only so much time in the day. We all feel like, we just worked a long day. There's always one more thing you can do. And selfishly, for me, I'd like to spend more time on my foundation. I'd like to spend more time giving. I'd like to spend more time learning about other organizations, but we only have so much time in the day, right? You have to dedicate it to, you have to prioritize it. There's always one more thing that you can do, and I say dedicate it to good. And if you can find that and figure out what that is for you every day, I think we'll all be a little bit better for it. So,
Julianna, you're the last. We got questions, but go ahead.
Yeah, I love this question because I think philanthropy is a way of living life. To Evan's point earlier, it's often born of pain. It's often born of where the government hasn't caught up yet. And it can be easy to focus on what is so unbelievably difficult about the work that we're all doing. I have a Post-it note on my desk that said, from years ago, that says, metabolize this pain into energy to heal the world. And then I thought about it even further, and what I would challenge us to possibly try on is like, what if we re-looked at the way that we're giving and the issues around the world that we're addressing? We know what we are against, so let's determine and fight for what we are for. And so that's just it's a philosophical reframing of addressing an issue. We know what we are against. What are we for? And sometimes that yes, that alignment to love, that alignment is what can really be the driver as opposed to focusing on what we're trying to change.
All right, 2 or 3 questions, Mike.
Thank you, Paul, and I'm humbled to meet everyone in the room. I'm hearing the themes of giving's identity, right? You know, what you want to give is, you know, what you want to see change in the world. And what I'm really, maybe is a question and challenge everyone in the room here, is the culture of philanthropy. It could be draining. I grew up with my parents writing checks and I knew. Now it's like this, but I'm kind of flipping the script to my young ones and be like, hey, choose a nonprofit and here's, you know, money to give research. And maybe I could ask, like, how do you approach someone who's kind of new to it and don't know much about charitable giving to preach that culture as given? And you know, the second noun, whatever it is, I'm recovering a trade, so I went through the first noun of the big. So that's maybe the challenge I have for the group is like, hey, and when there's so much distrust when it comes to our philanthropic systems, how do we break through and say, hey, you know, there's a lot of good in social impact, and how do you approach someone who's a novice or new, or even preach the culture we're doing?
I'd love to take that first. My favorite emails to get are from like your friend's son or daughter, and they're like, we're raising money for Alzheimer's. And it's like, that means something to them because it impacted maybe their grandparent or whatever. It's my favorite emails to get. If everyone could have a cause and everyone's passionate about raising for that cause, the world's gonna be better. Great, perfect.
Wow, I don't think I have a really smart answer or for that, but it goes back to what I said before. I think more people would give if there was transparency, they could see the measurement, the meter change. Like, what did their dollars do for someone else or something else? And sometimes it's really hard to see it. So just nonprofit organizations, the reporting that they do would be probably a lot better.
I would just say I start with values. Like for me, if I'm working with someone that's new to philanthropy or hasn't given their work with next gen boards and do the same kind of method, it's kind of I think it can be challenging to start with like what sometimes, unless like maybe you have a personal experience. But actually, this is such a specific thing. But there's this deck of cards. They're called motivational values from an organization called 2164. They're based in New York and largely focused on Jewish philanthropy, but I've used this deck for others, and we basically rank your top values, and it helps you understand like what actually motivates you for giving. Because like it might be the impact for sure, but it could also be like I want to spend time with my family. Like my dad cares about this. Like I want to talk to him about it. Like more time with him is great. Like I care about sustainability. I care about building community. Like at the end of the day, philanthropy has to offer something to us as well. Like of course it's altruistic and like it needs to feed your soul. So those to me are really helpful. And then you also rank your bottom values of like, this for me is not about religion. It is not about tradition. I don't care what people want, you know, but you rank them. And then if you're doing it in a group, you can actually like share top value and bottom values and see where there's alignment, which is really fun for me. It's a great tool.
It's part of the playbook. She was going to tell
It's
me.
a
That's a big one right there. It's a big one. Order that on Amazon.
Yeah, go to 2164 website. Oh, 2164, and they're called the motivational values deck. And I have created my own too for like when there's a family where I know there's like, so you can also look at it and kind of like curate your own.
Time for one final question. Calmness here, I sense, is because it's complete.
I asked Ken how he gets such a good team.
There's Miami. Guilty scars. Yes.
That's my question.
Thank you guys again. Honestly, the panel, you know, really grateful. I know you guys are super busy. You got a lot going on, so we all really appreciate you guys coming out. We do let everybody know who's in the room, and we'll send emails. Again, this is a non-solicitation. We can stop building, you know, finding ways to help each other. So you do reach out to somebody, that's the mindset here. It's all about helping each other, paying it forward. And so we will circulate that. Again, thank you to Cam, Kirk in the back. We'll do another one in a couple months on sports and philanthropy. We'll get Brock Purdy in to talk, and I'm joking. But in all seriousness, yeah. Probably not a season, but anyway, yeah.
I just wanted to express a gratitude because when we're spending so much time focusing on the dollars that are going to make a program work, you forget about those individual impacts. And it was so refreshing tonight not to hear a single dollar talked about or anything like that, but instead the human impact.
Sure. Great. Thanks, guys.